The Final Fantasy Wiki podcast is brought to you by ButterHelp. I also wish there was a how-to guide for life. There isn't, though. Nobody is here to help you, so gorge yourself on raw globs of butter. When you're all alone, and trust me, you are all alone, try ButterHelp. ButterHelp is an extremely unhealthy option that no doctor would recommend. This totally online service delivers pounds of fresh, calorie-heavy, extremely fattening butter straight to your door every week, which you can eat right out of the package whenever life has you on the ropes. ButterHelp. That stabbing chest pain means it's working. RFK Jr. approved. Am I good enough, or should I do another run of that?
No, I think that's the best one yet.
That's the best one yet? Okay.
That's the most creative one, definitely.
Okay. All right, I feel like I might have flubbed the line at some point, so I might do a second run through just in case.
Fuck you, no.
All right. So now we can actually do the Final Fantasy Wiki podcast, right?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe.
You want to do the Final Fantasy Wiki podcast? Techno Obliterator, can you tell me what the Final Fantasy Wiki podcast is? Because I've forgotten.
Yeah, so it's a podcast that we do every month about Final Fantasy, about video games related to Final Fantasy. We talk about the industry, we talk about the series, we talk about Square, and we have a topic every month. If there's a new release, then we do the main topic about the new release, but there's not a new release this month. So our main topic is going to be an anniversary of a video game that came out, is it 30 years now?
Oh god, is it 30? I think it's 30, yeah.
Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Either that or just under that.
No, it is. No, it's actually 30 years old, I believe, was the news.
Yeah, 30 years of Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
Some Color Mage, can you tell us why we do this?
Because we feel like it.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. BlueHighwind, can you tell us? Can you tell us when Chrono Trigger was originally released? And that was March 11th, 1995. Thank you, BlueHighwind, for asking that question. And it is now March, I guess 31st is when I'll actually be posting this, of 2025. So 2025 minus 1995 equals 30. So there we are. It's the 30th anniversary. That's math. And math is the foundation of science. And science is what created computers, and computers is what created video games. And also what you're listening to this on right now. So everything is all connected somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So anyway, we should talk about the news of Final Fantasy in the month of March 2025, which is 30 years after 1995. Somebody told me this recently. Like a minute ago, actually. It was wild. So, let's see what the first news report is. We're cutting straight to the chase here with Final Fantasy 1 through 6, the Pixel Remaster, received some updates on Steam, which are, you can job level boost. In addition to EXP and Gil, you can also boost your job level, and I assume in the games that have job levels. Dialogue texts with companion characters are now displayed in order instead of at random. That's nice. The minimap on-off setting will now be correctly applied after displaying the map screen and upon loading. That seems to be mostly it. It's minor updates.
Yeah. It also recently was revealed that it sold 5 million.
Ah. I did not get that news.
5 million units.
Or did we talk about that news previously?
Did we talk about that?
I don't know. I'm looking to see where that news was, because that slipped past my... 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Reddit JRPG went and said that it sold 5 million copies. And based on this Final Fantasy in general, this is Gamatsu reporting this, has sold 200 million copies of every game.
Yeah.
You add them all together, it's 200
Yes.
copies.
So I don't know if that means like, oh, you know, Final Fantasy 1 specifically sold 5 million, or if it just means
I think it's the entire Pixel Remaster collection.
Yeah, and they're counting each one as a separate sale. So like 5 million different Pixel Remaster games were sold, which, you know, that could be one person bought Final Fantasy 6 4 million times, or it could just be like more spread out, like more evenly, basically. Either way, it's good numbers, and you know, it's impressive either way.
How many million times did you buy Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster Some Color Mage?
2.
2 million times. Very impressive. How do you do it?
I don't know.
You just keep clicking that button on Steam over and over again.
Yeah.
And money's not real in Australia, so I guess this is very doable. I've been there. Money's not real.
It's still a fair debate as to if these are the best ways to play them, but they're definitely the ways that someone new to this series, I would tell them to start there.
Okay. Yes, I believe we've already had this debate. I believe I was of the opinion that you should emulate the Game Boy Advance versions because those are better. But these have been boosted enough that I guess they're good enough.
Yeah.
If you are a normie and just want to play Final Fantasy III and don't feel like going through any hoops, you can do this. Though I'm guessing no normal person will ever want to play Final Fantasy III to begin with.
Well, definitely not the remakes of 3 anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they might want to play Final Fantasy 5 or 6. Those ones are still very playable today.
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm imagining a normal person. I don't think a normal person is playing a 30-year-old JRPG under any circumstances.
I think a normal person who does exactly what I did, which is get into Final Fantasy through one of the new games and wants to learn about the old ones, would probably think about it.
But are you a normal person is the question.
Well, okay, good point.
Yeah.
Good point there. But,
you're on a podcast talking about Final Fantasy. You've already reached the level of deviancy that most normal people could never imagine.
True, but you'd be surprised how many people go back and play 4, 5, and 6, and even 1, 2, and 3. Like 4, 5, and 6, those are the ones that are still very playable now.
Let's see how many copies Final Fantasy 6.
I'd recommend anyone play 6.
Final Fantasy 6 based on really nothing. It's the Final Fantasy Wiki. Says 3.48 million copies have sold, that's a lot of people, but I would not consider any of them normal.
Total, across all the versions?
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
That's what our wiki says.
And that's probably not counting all the new versions, the Pixel Remaster versions. That might have it up to about 4 million. Yeah.
You also may want to go to this website. It's called finalfantasy.fandom.com.
Yeah, I've heard it's decent.
I don't know. It's gone downhill over the years. Legitimately, one day I hope that it looks good again. I hate how it looks now. I miss when it just looked like Wikipedia.
Same.
Anyway. So, another game got updated in a minor way, but anti-piracy de novo has been removed from Final Fantasy XVI, the PC versions. And it is suspected that may help the performance of the game. This is PCGuide.com that's reporting this. Everyone loves de novo.
Why was it even there to begin with? It's not like the game was new when it came out on PC. It was on PS5 for ages beforehand.
It's not like it's a multiplayer game either. So why would you need any sort of like anti-piracy, anti-cheat stuff?
Well, it looks like it's got decent reviews for PC.
Yeah, but if you're a PC gamer, your purpose in life is to find something about the performance that you don't like and then complain.
True.
This is why you buy a PC. You spend thousands of dollars to go and find the minutest level of frame rate or, I don't know, field of view tabs or whatever the heck Total Biscuit used to complain about all the time. And then it wouldn't be completely up to snuff, and then you'd be outraged, morally and philosophically.
Oh man, I remember that. Right.
Yeah, rest in peace. I don't really PC game that much, but I did buy what was it? What was that? Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. And I had to install
You actually bought that?
I got it for free off of an Amazon account. But I downloaded it off the Epic Store, and in order for you to play it, you have to go and download one of these like de novo things, which like you have to give like system level access to.
Can you even play it today?
I don't even know if you can still play it. I mean, it's downloaded on here. I just never.
I was gonna say.
I never actually
expect it to have been shut down by now.
I think that there's a single player option that's been like an offline option that's available now.
Yeah. They didn't take the game down when they ended it.
Yeah. But like this is like just considered normal, apparently, that you just let these fucking anti-piracy things have that much kernel control on your computer, and I'm like, I don't know, man. This seems deeply unhealthy, and like maybe it hasn't failed yet, but it's going to fail one day. But I guess nobody cares anymore, considering, like, Windows just lets AI take pictures of every single thing that you're doing and have access to every, like, visual images of every single password you have and your bank account statements, and just let AI have all that. So.
Don't give shit kernel access.
No.
Good reason I don't use Windows anymore.
I'm sure. What do you have, Apple?
Yep.
I'm sure Apple has some similar AI nightmare planned.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Apple's not great. I just personally prefer it over Windows.
Apple have fairly conspicuously shut up about Apple Intelligence.
Actually, that's a positive change. I'm like borderline on the point of like I don't know if I want to get a new phone for a while until they like release one without any of this Apple Intelligence shit. Nobody particularly wants it.
Let me tell you, right? But all as much as we've on this podcast said many times what we don't like about AI, right? But I think it's worth pointing out AI has been such a godsend for me actually editing the wiki, right? So a lot of I don't use AI to write any content. Don't worry about that. But I have been using it to write tables for me. That makes it so much easier than it used to be.
Like the thing is, I mean, I know the tools specifically you're using, but like I can outright say, no, you never needed an LLM to do that.
I never needed it to do that. It just makes it so much quicker than it used to be.
I'm just saying these sort of automated functions already existed, and yes, there's technically a form of artificial intelligence, but you know, the kind of artificial intelligence people get mad about is generative AI. You know,
I don't use that.
Yeah, like that is kind of garbage, and for multiple reasons, it's got problems. Artificial intelligence, you know, has existed for ages, and it's perfectly fine as analytical models because that's what they're supposed to fucking do. That's what a computer is. Yeah, it's just the I copied a ton of shit I don't have the legal rights to, and now have made a stupid mashup of it that people hate.
Yep.
I'm going to say that back in my day when you were wiki editing, you found some HTML that you barely knew how to use. You copied tons and tons of it and just kept hitting the preview button until finally it worked. You couldn't really explain why it worked versus why it didn't work. And then nobody else using the code that you wrote was able to go and complete the same thing that you did. And that's just
programming.
Yeah. There you go. You know, I'm a programmer, as it turns out. Also, I think all of those tables are broken, aren't they? The ones I'm referring to that I made.
Like, we've fixed them up.
Oh, thank you.
Pretty much, you copy stuff right? You send it into ChatGPT. Hi, can you make this about Tifa instead? And it says, okay, here's the table with Tifa's weapons. Thank you. Can you make it for Aerith's weapons? Here you go. Here's the table with Aerith's weapons, and blah blah. And,
and like the thing is, you've already got that data set because I mean, I compiled the fucking data set. I should know you already have the data
I
set.
literally just fed it your data set into that and said, can you make this version of it, which is quicker? And it goes, yeah, here you go. I'm like, oh, easy.
Why did you need to... What are you doing? Like, you're just changing how the tables look?
Yeah, just making it so... I'm just making it so that, like, the individual pages have the full bit of data, but then the one list page that lists all the weapons is like a summary of it.
Okay. And this is for remake or for the original version?
At the moment, Rebirth. Like when the game first came out, I dumped a whole bunch of raw data into the sandbox, and we're finally getting around to actually processing it.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, next item of news. Official word. We have the name for Final Fantasy VII Part 3. It's not Final Fantasy VII Revengeance. It's Final Fantasy VII Re-Bike.
What?
Cloud gets back on his bike. It's Re-Bike.
What?
I came across that because I was editing, and I accidentally made a typo, and I typoed Rebirth as Re-Bike. And I'm like, this is the new fucking name. It's Final Fantasy VII Re-Bike.
Techno, you like write our intros to the podcast, don't you?
Yeah.
Re-bike. Okay. Can you unbike?
BD-bike?
Can you anti-bike? We're running out of...
yeah.
This bit is terrible, and we're not going anywhere with it. So anyway, Brandon Sanderson, an author who I think several of us on the podcast have read, right? Some Common Mage, you've ever read any Sanderson?
Actually, no.
Okay, you're not a Stormlight Archive guy?
Not really.
Okay. Everyone else on the Discord we're in is a Stormlight Archive person, but never mind. Brandon Sanderson had his list of top 10 video games of all time, and I just felt like we should mention that Final Fantasy X is number 3.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see
10
that.
10 and 7 seem to be the ones that most normies rate.
Mm-hmm. What do you think his number 1 favorite game of all time is? He's a fantasy author, inspired by Stephen King and anime, and writes a lot of kind of YA romancy stuff with bad jokes and really, really complicated magic systems. So based on those clues, what do you think his favorite game of all time is?
Pac-Man.
No. I can give you a hint. It has come out in the last decade, I think.
Mario Kart.
No, that's a Super Nintendo game. It's over 30 years old.
Oh, last decade.
GTA 6.
That's not out yet!
Oh, yeah.
Silk Song, no. His favorite game of all time is Civilization 6.
Huh.
Yeah. Not sure why Civilization 6 specifically, but...
I'm enjoying Civilization 7 so far, but a lot of people are right when they say, like, don't get the first version of... Anytime there's a new Civ game, wait for the patches.
Any 4X or PC-ass PC game, do not buy on release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just wait for it.
This is off topic, but I've been greatly enjoying the angry discourse around the latest patch of Hoi 4, Hearts of Iron 4. It's completely broken and none of the countries work, and everyone's really mad. And it's very funny to me.
Gee, a Paradox game is completely broken. What else is new?
Paradox is in a weird place right now. Not that Firaxis isn't in a weird place, considering Civilization 7 is like their please keep the lights on game after Marvel's Midnight Suns. Nobody played except for me. Fantastic video game. Everyone missed out.
Oh, it was good?
Midnight Suns? Yeah, I love that game.
Nice.
That was my favorite game of the year after it came out, because it came out in like December, so I didn't get to play it that year, but I played it the year after that.
I swear, DC and Marvel just take turns to be who's going to be good at something, right? Like, for ages, when you had the Arkham games, it was like, oh, DC are good at games, and Marvel are good at the movies, right? But now Marvel have gotten better at the games with Spider-Man, and it sounds like Midnight Suns, right? But they've gotten awful at movies, and DC actually looks somewhat more promising on movies.
DC have
It's
not
like they're
proven they are
No,
good at movies.
all right. Techno,
They
you
have
got to
not proven
think.
that yet.
You,
I have
you gotta
a lot
name.
more faith in them than I do in Marvel at the moment.
You have to name one good DC superhero game that does not involve Batman.
Oh, that's a good point.
Go all the way
That's a
back
good
to the
point.
Nintendo.
Right.
The only good superhero game on that console is the Sunsoft Batman game. All the other ones are terrible. Superman NES is a terrible, terrible game. Oh, and Wonder Woman.
Superman 64.
Superman 64, yes.
was
also
fucking
Wonder
terrible.
Woman got canceled. That was also news this month.
Yeah.
Rest in peace,
Oh,
Wonder
it
Woman.
did?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
canceled
they
that game.
fucking
I guess that's
killed
not surprising.
Monolith.
Yep.
The American
Wow.
Monolith. The Japanese Monolith is still doing really fucking good. Xenoblade X Definitive came out this month.
Yeah. But
Wow.
yeah, the Xenoblade fans, they're eating. The Fear fans, well, you haven't eaten in like 20 years and have already starved to death, so
Yeah,
rest in
I don't
peace.
think WB Monolith actually got anything out after the end of their Middle Earth Shadow of Whatever series.
No, they were working on this Wonder Woman game for like 6 years or something.
Yeah, it's like, God, what the fuck is wrong with everyone?
I don't know. The whole world is a disaster. Oh, we've wandered wildly off course. More news. There was a report that Final Fantasy 16 had sold 3.5 million copies, but since later, that report has turned out to be false. This was a Toyo Securities analyst, Hideki Yasuda, who apologized for his incorrect statement about Final Fantasy 16. 3.5 million is not correct. We don't know how many Final Fantasy 16 sold.
I mean, just in general, it'd be really weird if the PC version of 16 sold less than 500,000.
Also, there was a report that
I think
16 sold like 3 million in the first week, so it would have been really weird for the game to only sell 500,000 over the last like 3 years.
The estimate is around 3.5 to 4.5, right? And the thinking behind that is, look, if it had sold 5 million, they would have told us, but we know it sold 3 million because they've said that. So it's got to be somewhere in the ballpark between them. So I'd say around 4 million is probably fair, right? You know, a lot of people are saying like, oh, that's terrible numbers. How could it have sold so poorly, right? And in defense of 16, I don't think that's bad numbers, to be honest.
No,
I really don't think those numbers are that bad at all.
I think
like,
that game's budget was relatively contained, and I think it was profitable.
I feel like a lot of people have stupid expectations for what they think Final Fantasy video games should sell, right? We have to remember, there was a time in the PlayStation 1 days and early PlayStation 2 when it would have been considered like a blockbuster game. But when you think about how the average person sees it today, it's kind of got a niche audience, right? It's still kind of niche. It's kind of, or niche compared to like God of War or something. Niche compared to like the actual massive blockbusters you get these days. So for it to sell 4 million, I find that to be a respectable number. Like, yeah, it's less than 15, or it's less than 10 back in the day, but I don't think it's a bad number.
Okay, like 15 sold 10 million, but I also have to point out that like they spent an absurdly ridiculous amount on advertising, and also, quite frankly, I consider the advertising on that game to be on some level dishonest, because
Yep.
I wanted Tetsuya Nomura's fucking Wild Ride. You did not deliver shit on that front.
15, they like went through every single stop to sell that game. They had a movie, they had an anime, they had online apps, they had shitty like what's that like city builder game that was all titty advertising like 10 years ago?
Oh god,
They had that, but Final Fantasy 15.
They had 2 of those for Final Fantasy 15.
They had 2 of those, yes.
Yep.
They're both dead now, by the way.
What? They're both dead? I believe we reported that, right?
Yeah.
We have more dead apps to report soon, actually. So like Final Fantasy 15 was like, this is a multimedia explosion. And with 16, it was just like, oh, this is a video game. There you go.
Yep.
And also, 15 was... The other thing is, like, 15 was in the hopper for so long that, like, the first trailers for a game that never got made but eventually became Final Fantasy 15 was back, like, 2006 at the height of Final Fantasy's power.
Yeah, this was at the same time that they announced 13.
Yeah. It was that, Agido 13, and Versus 13. And only 3 13 games got made, but only one of them was one of the ones they announced.
Yep.
But we did get an Agido game that was a mobile app that called itself Agido. Also dead. Rest in peace.
They do definitely need to rethink the marketing if they want to do 15 numbers again. But considering the marketing was where it was, I really don't think 4 or even 3.5 million. I don't think those are bad numbers. I think if it was like just under 2 million, then I'd actually agree with people saying we should be concerned about that. But no, I just agree with people completely. Like I think that's a respectable number.
I don't think that like video games releases are major events in that way like they were 10 years ago. You don't...
Well, the thing is, video game marketing is fucked.
That too.
Like, yes, there's been a bunch of underselling and stuff, but there's a reason for that. And you want to know one of the people at the head of why the video game industry is so fucked and can't market for shit anymore? There's one person who is very responsible for that, and it's one person who is very responsible for a lot of things right now.
Is it Technobliterator?
No.
Okay.
What? I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
I legitimately don't know what some color mage is talking about right now.
It's Elon Musk.
Oh.
So there are so many companies in the video game industry that relied on the share button on the most recent round of consoles to complement its marketing. And then Elon Musk started charging out the ass to do that on Twitter. So Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony all said, fuck that, we're not having the share function anymore. And so everyone's advertising strategies collapse.
It is why Reddit is the last website, basically.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Because it's the only one with people in it, and everything is not completely decided by an algorithm. So that's why it's the only thing that, like, even like Google will just give me Reddit searches, even when I'm not even looking for Reddit anymore. Even it's like accepted. Oh yeah, there's no other websites that you have to give me Reddit.
That does explain a lot, though, actually.
There's a lot going on where, like, video game media is a pale shadow of what it used to be 10 years ago, which itself was a pale shadow of what it used to be 10 years before that. And, like, with the loss of video game websites and, like, entire video game magazines and channels, it's like, yeah, those things weren't profitable, but they were also major pushers of a kind of culture and hype around things, and there just isn't that movement anymore. It's you can so easily.
The movement was kind of there. It's just gone. Like this isn't just spitballing. We have stuff like the localization team for the Dragon series pretty much being able to trace the revival of the series in the West back to the chicken scene from Yakuza 0, because that got shared all over the place.
Yeah, and you see one clip of guys running around in like baby underwear, which happens in every single game.
Pretty much every single game.
Every single game, yeah. There's guys in diapers, and that gets you hooked for life. Though I haven't played the new pirate one yet. Speaking of how media is like dead and like social media is like so fucked, like nobody's talking about that pirate game. Maybe it's just Blue Sky's useless.
The opinion that the way to, if people want to quote unquote bring back Final Fantasy, like if they want it to be a big blockbuster franchise again, the only way that's going to happen, in my view, is if they make one that's good enough that word of mouth spreads and lifts it up, right? And that gets it the attention and the sales it deserves. And I don't think they've yet made one good enough to do that, where it's carried that way.
I feel like the only form of media that still like traffics in like conversation is TV shows. People don't care about movies. They don't care about music, except when there's like a big feud. They don't care about video games. Yeah. But everyone cares about Severance. That still pulls the needle in online conversations.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know how you
so maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe they actually need to make this Final Fantasy IX animated show they keep talking about. And then maybe that needs to get carried by word of mouth. And then that will bring people back.
Well, Prestige TV is just basically anime now. Like, Severance is just Neon Genesis Evangelion, but without robots. So.
Oh, by the way, I had never seen an anime before in my life until my girlfriend got me watching Attack on Titan. And that is such a good show.
What?
Damn, dude.
I love that show.
And maybe Tech Obliterator is normal. I misjudged you.
I'd never seen one before. Except,
I've never seen an...
Does Yu-Gi-Oh count?
Yes. Pokemon counts.
Well, I'd seen a couple episodes, but I never watched it before. This was the first anime I've ever watched.
You never watched any Dragon Ball Z?
Never seen it. I've heard of it.
You were just slightly too young for, I guess, Dragon Ball Z. You never saw any Naruto?
Who's that?
You don't know who Naruto is?
Is that the sun something guy? The guy who his hair goes blonde and then he becomes Superman?
That's Goku.
No, that's Goku. That's Dragon Ball.
Who's that?
No.
Oh my god. Are you pulling my fucking leg right now?
Naruto is the one about the ninjas.
Look, everyone in the world is talking about One Piece because there was that One Piece Netflix show, and as I mentioned previously, TV is the only thing that still exists. You don't know... Do you know what One Piece is?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Do you know
is that the one where it's like the guy who is the one punch guy and he can beat anyone in one punch?
Now you're fucking... You actually are fucking with me. Okay, alright, never mind.
No, I'm not. Legit.
Legit, you're not.
Those are different shows?
Monkey D. Luffy, does that mean anything to you?
Who's that?
Oh my god. These people are on the Macy's Day Parade.
Oh, I haven't seen the Macy's Parade before.
Oh, alright.
You want about the one in Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yeah, I ain't seen that yet.
Goku is there. Luffy is there.
Okay.
Pikachu's there. Do you know who Pikachu is?
Oh, yeah, the Pokemon guy.
Okay. How have you played this much Final Fantasy, but you don't like anime?
It's not I don't like it. I've just not had any exposure to it before I watched Attack on Titan.
How have you not had any exposure to anime? Like, everyone in RPG spaces also watches anime.
Not me until now.
This is the weirdest conversation I've ever had in my life. You could have walked in here and said I've never eaten food before, and it would have been less weird. Like, yeah, I had a burger last night. You know, you ever hear of this food stuff? It's interesting. All right, let's get everything back on track. Where the hell were we? We were talking about Final Fantasy 16, right? So we'll move on from that one.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Life is Strange Double Exposure. This is mildly related because there was Final Fantasy like DLC you could buy for that. That turns out that it was a huge loss for Square Enix, and currently the Life is Strange franchise is probably on its way out.
I am not surprised by that because I don't think any Life is Strange after the first one was ever considered successful. Although this is, although if they're outright saying a loss, I think that's kind of a big one because, like, you know, they usually talk about not meeting expectations, but expectations is like a certain degree of profit over breaking even. Like, it doesn't make expectations if you don't make money back. It's making expectations if you're beating the stock market.
TheGamer.com.
A loss is real bad.
Yeah, TheGamer.com went and used the term, quoting from Square Enix's latest financial report, which was large loss. So I would say that this is the last we're going to get of Life is Strange.
Yeah, and I'm also not surprised at that because the only thing I actually heard about that game was some real big controversy over how, it's a sequel to the first game, and whatever your ending was did not matter at all.
It's like setting up for like a multiverse thing that's never going to happen. I remember.
Oh yeah, I also heard this. Yes, it did end with a fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe X. Max Caulfield will return.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, she's fucking not anymore.
No. Might as well have said Chappie is going to return. It's not going to happen. Chappie. We got a few more. Ben Starr did an ad for the Square Enix sale on Steam. He was in like a smoking jacket and a room and told us why we should play Final Fantasy VIII.
Nice. So I hadn't actually watched that, but I knew it was going to be 8.
Yep.
That was his favorite one, right?
Yeah. Dude loves 8.
Yeah, he like immediately he's like, which RPG should I buy? And then he just says Final Fantasy VIII. And then he has more like 2 minutes of ad read. But all you need to know is that he likes Final Fantasy VIII. Here's some big ones. So, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, that died last year. Another game in that universe is War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. That is going to end service on May 29th.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This was the strategy RPG mobile game. And
that was quicker than Brave Exvius was.
What do you mean quicker?
It didn't last as long, but like the company that the Brave Exvius stuff is outsourced to, Gumi, has pretty much been collapsing over the past year or so. So yeah, they're kind of fucked.
I would say, I actually tried that one because I really loved the art style for whenever they brought main Final Fantasy characters into that game, they drew them up in like the kind of tactics, kind of art style. And it looked beautiful, so I wanted to check the game out. I would say I can see why that game died, because unless you spend money on it, I don't see how you make any progression in that game. I was baffled. I was like, how do I improve? And it's like, oh, you need a certain amount of this resource, which you can get like 5 of them in every time you complete something. It's like, oh, but this needs like 2,000 to get through. It's like, yeah, you're fucked unless you pay. I'm like, well, I'm not fucking paying.
No.
So I see why that game died.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think all these things have certain like time limits to them, and at a certain point, people will just stop paying to roll up to get Beatrix or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it wasn't like the game didn't do anything right. It's just when I played it, I was like, this ain't for me. I'm not going to invest my time into this. And eventually I stopped playing it. No, it wasn't like Opera Omnia where you can legitimately get through that without spending a dime, which makes you think, oh, I want to spend a dime to support the game now. So, and that one obviously lasted a decent amount of time because, it got up to a certain point where it just became too hard and that's when it died. But with War of the Visions, I'm not surprised it didn't last that long. Like, I feel bad for all the developers who worked on it and whatever, but with that business model, that's not going to carry a game.
So, by the way, there is only one Final Fantasy mobile game left at this point.
In global, anyway.
Yeah, globally. I think Brave Exvius might still be running in Japan alone, potentially.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, a few of these are still Japan only, but globally there's only one still left, and that is Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Also, Final Fantasy 14 mobile will be coming out soon enough. And in theory, one day we'll get Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, but they sure got the missing part of that title right.
Yeah. And like that Octopath Traveler gacha game still exists, but also it's being run by NetEase now, so that's...
What is that?
Yeah, you might as well expect that to die eventually, because NetEase fucking sucks.
Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. I've never heard of this in my life. Huh. Okay. I guess this exists.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me. I'm going to forget next time we talk about this. So.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
We do have bigger news, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 7.2, Seekers of Eternity, Final Fantasy 14, the patch. It released, like a week ago?
Yeah, it was this week, and like the way Final Fantasy 14 patches work now, but a lot of stuff just will be drip fed over the next couple of months. But this is like the story update. So we have, so like we got the dungeon, we got the Mecha Beatrix fight.
Yep, Mecha Beatrix, bonkers.
Yeah,
she's got robot hair.
Yeah,
it's made of metal.
Yeah, she's got. Yeah. Yeah, someone made sure to perfectly craft her hairdo in the metal. Anyway, those fights are actually fucking fun. Back in 7.1 when I was calling the fake Sphene a techno Calvinist, like this patch at the end, they decided the villains announce, "Oh, we have run out of the regulators we're going to use to turn people into endless," and then they start hacking all of Alexandria's systems so that like the robots turn rogue and start killing and maiming anyone who doesn't have one, so to try and terrify everyone who does have one to agreeing to the plan. So yes, I'm very vindicated in this. They basically decide, well, you're not chosen by God. You get to suffer and die now.
Huh. So there's, I believe we discussed this, but everything we ever talk about, I just forget about instantly. And this is like, she's got like a system of the elect that she's going. She had like a machine paradise, I remember from the base game when I watched those cutscenes, and everyone would exist like forever as like ghosts.
Yeah, and like the Sphene that was in charge of that got destroyed and the thing shut down. But like the Sphene robot was always like a front for like this organization that has been trying to create eternal life. So they made another Sphene to do their plans. Meanwhile, it turns out the original Sphene wasn't dead. She had just been like captured by them, put in cold storage, which of course failed because we shut down their big Palace of the Dead stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now there have been 3 Sphenes running around in this story. Two of them are gone now because we killed the first robot, and like the second robot, so they decided at this point, well, the plan's nearly done. We don't really need her anymore. Shut her off. But like the real Sphene is now also running around with us. She has no idea what the fuck is going on either.
Oh, so the original Sphene is now on a good guy?
Yeah, the original Sphene is awakened on our side.
So she's like, I'm not going to go hang out with a genocidal lizard anymore. I'm going to be a good person.
Oh, well, the genocidal lizard is already dead, and also that was the first robot Sphene that was associating with that guy.
Oh, so the second Sphene is the good Sphene.
The third Sphene is the good Sphene.
Oh, so the
there
latest
are 2 robots.
The latest Sphene is the good Sphene.
Yeah.
Can these have like names? Could we like have Sveen like Alpha, Beta, Zeta, Prime, Subprime, Prime Rib?
There's actually a bit where they did get confused over all of this in story. Yes. Yeah. Like generally the first robot is like being called the Eternal Sphene, and the second one is being called like the Simulated Sphene.
But the original one was also a
Sphene.
The original one was also a simulation, though. She was like a hologram person.
No.
Wait, there was a robot at the end that you fought. I think was that like the true Sphene? Okay.
That was the first robot Sphene.
Okay. But like the Disney princess version, that was a hologram thing.
No.
Okay. I don't understand Final Fantasy XIV. I'm gonna stop. This is not making it clearer to me or our listeners in any way. You should play Final Fantasy XIV 7.2 to understand. You can also play Moon Tycoon now. If anyone remembers the game Moon Tycoon, apparently they brought it back in Final Fantasy XIV form. I cannot believe it. What the fuck does moons have to do with anything? Like, why? We started out in Mexico. We went to cyberpunk, weird metaphors about elect salvation and the soul. And now we're on the moon.
Oh, the moon stuff? Well, I'm pretty sure that's just a continuation of stuff that happened in Endwalker, because, like, I mean, the moon has sort of finished serving its original purpose, so we may as well just build new shit there.
Also, who's the person in the art for 7.2?
Which part of the art?
The one with, like, the Gohan on Namek hair.
Oh,
they got like electrodes on their neck. I can't tell if they're a boy or girl.
That is Calyx, and he is the scientist behind the secret organization that is trying to create eternal life.
So he's done this like thousands of years ago. Because Sphene was like
400, but yeah.
Yeah, Sphene was like centuries old. I remember.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 12, so moisturizing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, dude must have some must have a fantastic skincare routine.
Do you have anything else you want to add about 14.7.2?
Yeah, well, like Major Patch also meant the raid update, so we had more Arcadian furry WWE stuff. We fought a disco frog.
Okay, all right. You know, this gives me hope for the future that there are disco frogs. Are there any good new tracks? Because I remember the like tournament thing had some crazy music.
Yeah, good. Yeah, there's still like a bunch of music for that. The Arcadian in particular has been pretty good, because like this has been like the only time in a raid where every single fight has gotten a new song, and they've all been pretty damn good.
You on the Discord have Emmett Selk. Why is Emmett Selk? Is he back?
Oh, that's those screenshots of Emmett Selk in the 14 channel. They're still going through the graphical updates in bits and pieces over the expansion. So yes, they made Emmett Selk look even uglier.
He looks like he needs a little bit more sleep. Though Emmett Selk seems like the kind of person who does not sleep well.
Yeah, I mean, being depressed for like 13,000 years will do that to you.
Yeah. Seems like he's got the Ayn Rand or Adolf Hitler chronic constipation issue.
Like, you know what's really wild about that appearance? That the Asians could basically just hijack anybody they want, make themselves look like whatever they want. But Emmett Selk would just have, like, a part of the Gallian Empire's scientific research dedicated to just making constant clones of that one body. So that, you know, whenever whenever like a body became like too old or broken to use, he could just hop into a clone of himself.
Yeah, but some color mage, there is an entire subculture of people who are deeply, deeply attracted to Emmett Silk. This is working for somebody.
Yeah.
I've seen the fan art. People are down for this. People want a tired 40-something caustic British man in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we will report more on Final Fantasy XIV as it develops, because the story truly never does end. Final Fantasy IX. Do you remember back a few years ago, there was that story that they were going to go and release a Final Fantasy IX, like French, not anime, but cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on, what was it? It was Reset Era, I think it was. I never want to... I'm old enough that I want to call it by the original name, but it's Reset Era now. Anyway, Reset Era had a leak of what people think might be the like pitch deck of this product, because the studio that was making it, they have now gone under. So this is basically like just a overview of, one, if you're an investor, here's what Final Fantasy IX was and how you can make a lot of money off of Final Fantasy IX, and two, what their general idea was. This was going to be called Final Fantasy IX: The Black Mage's Legacy. It is an epic adventure 2D/3D for 8 to 13 years old. Unfortunately, we're all too old for that. This is going to be about Vivi's kids. Yes, hi, Tech-Man.
Wait, since when was this a thing?
Since when was what a thing?
I completely missed that news.
What do you mean?
They're making like a children's book for Final Fantasy IX?
No, we're talking about the cartoon that got canceled.
That probably got
canceled.
It's
gotten cancelled.
Well, I mean, the studio that made it is currently like more or less defunct, and there's been no progress on this for years.
Yeah, and like it's probably cancelled, but it's not like this shit disappears. Square can shop around to whoever they want with this stuff if they really want to, because like, I mean, Square would still own all this stuff.
And this was just like a pitch deck, basically. So this may never have been the final show, even if it had progressed. Like, you never know what notes you're going to get. But anyway, it was going to be based around Vivi's children who show up at the end of the game, whose names are Doc, Mel, Thea, Wukolia, Coln, and Fala. And they all have various different personalities.
Good idea.
I think it's legitimately, I think it's like a great idea, because pointy hat black mages are adorable. And I think children of all audiences could fall in love with a wacky group of pointy hat black mages who go on adventures. This is kind of more of a, like, I guess it's more of like an Avatar-y, like, growing adventure. You know, it's not like a cartoon where they have like individual episodes. It's like we have an overall story arc based on what's here.
Yeah.
And
that would have been cool, man.
Yeah, there's a genome villain. There's a knight with a spoon.
Another one?
Yes, another genome villain.
A knight with a spoon. Okay.
I mean, that just seems like a place you'd have to go, considering Final Fantasy IX's lore. You'd have to have a Terran at some point, causing a ruckus. Like, what else are you gonna do? You're just gonna like completely ignore the dual world? I mean, it's not canceled as much as like it kind of never really happened.
Well, I'm sad about that too.
It's like being sad about Fortress, you know, the Grin game that was going to be the Final Fantasy XII sequel.
Yeah, like, we honestly don't know if this ever really got anything anywhere further than the pitch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but they would have split up the two Black Mages parties. There's quite a bit of art that looks almost like identical to Final Fantasy IX art. Some of it actually is Final Fantasy IX art, I think. Like, they have Lindblom here. I think that's like straight off of the wiki. Vivi with the fire, I think, is taken from the FMV, where Or it's very similar to that. It can't be from the FMV because he's
Now
on
I've got the
ground.
Lindblom theme stuck in my head.
How does a Lindblom theme go?
The one that's like dun, 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 dun. That one.
Okay. Because I think the only thing that was coming to mind was Final Fantasy VI's Edgar and Sabin's castle.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun,
Yeah, yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's what came to mind immediately. And now I can't think of any other castle theme.
We need that 9 remake, man. We need it.
Yeah, that's the other thing that
We need it to
was
happen.
that leaked out as at some point was going to be a thing, and I don't know if it's sitting on the back burner or what. But Nintendo had their big conference about what's left for the Switch, its remaining year of life. Basically, the only Square Enix product is the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake that hasn't already come out. So if they were going to release Final Fantasy 9 anytime soon, it would definitely be out on the Switch 1 and definitely would have been in that conference. So it's weird to imagine that's still happening. Same with Final Fantasy Tactics. Sorry.
I'm sure it will happen.
It's very weird to me that they would remake Tactics Ogre, which is a great game, but clearly less popular than Final Fantasy Tactics, and not remake Final Fantasy Tactics as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I'm
like
sure
the thing about the Final Fantasy 9 thing is that we're pretty sure, based on what little we know, that it would be a lot more truer to the source material than, say, the 7 remake trilogy. And it's hard to believe that a Final Fantasy 9 remake of that nature would be of such high fidelity that like Switch 1's out of the question. It'd have to be Switch 2. And this is going to be really funny if that happens, considering the Switch 2 game showcase is next week, which means it will be out before the YouTube version of this episode is.
By the way, Cyber Group Studios was the company that was going to be making this Final Fantasy 9 thing. And currently, I don't know if it's quite defunct, but based on news, it's in bankruptcy, judicial recovery. There's potential buyers for it, so
don't count on anything. Basically.
Don't count on anything, yeah. Sad. I don't know if it's sad, but it's just a thing. Sometimes things don't happen. But, we still have Final Fantasy Unlimited. And the Final Fantasy 15 anime. And Last Order. And the Final Fantasy 5 OAV. And the Chrono Trigger original video animation. There's one of those too. It's like 25 minutes long. And am I forgetting any other Final Fantasy cartoons? Oh, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind.
Sure, why not?
That's got chocobos in it, so it's a Final Fantasy. My definition has always been it's a Final Fantasy if it has chocobos in it. And, yeah. I think that's Square Enix's definition, too, at this point. Mm-hmm. So, The Spirits Within, not a Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, that did have a chocobo, but, like, on, like, a picture frame or something. That doesn't count. Fuck The Spirits Within. That's a bad movie. So, I did mention Chrono Trigger. Happy 30th birthday to Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
What did you buy Chrono Trigger for its birthday, Some Color Mage? You forgot Chrono Trigger's birthday, didn't you?
I didn't know they wanted presents.
Of course it wants presents. It's 30 years old. That's a very emotional transitional point in a life. You got to deal with the constant question of, am I still young? And many people would say yes. Other people would say no. The 30s are a time of deep confusion. It's the new 20s. Anyway, Chrono Trigger. What do you think of this game?
It's good.
And that's the show, everybody. Good night. Techno Obliterator, I believe we were talking about this, and you said that you hadn't played Chrono Trigger. Now, I assume that you've done the responsible thing, and as a good JRPG fan, have played the entire game in the last week, correct?
I mean, I don't remember telling you that I hadn't played it, because I have played it.
Oh.
Right. But
Did you not say that
I
you
played
hadn't
it a couple of years.
I thought you said that you hadn't played it. You didn't finish it?
I haven't finished it.
Okay.
Right. But I've attempted to play it, I want to say 2 or 3 times all the way through. But each time I get up until right after you recruit Frog and then kind of don't keep going in it. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those games where it's like, you know, you kind of put it on the back burner thinking I'll get back to it and then never end up doing that. So
you get stuck in like
I guess
the trial, the castle dungeon?
I did get stuck in that at one point, and then I think I got through it, and then I just don't remember what I did after that.
Did you go
All
to
I
the
know
future?
Is that, like, yeah, I think that's where all I know is that, like, this game has never really clicked for me. Chrono Trigger hasn't, right? And it's interesting because I am very aware that there's a lot of people who, for example, rate it above Final Fantasy VI. You know, a lot of people would argue it's one of Square's best ever games, right? And, you know, it's got really good music. It's got really good art style, really good character designs. Like, I love the little robot guy, Robo. He's so cool, right?
Have you even? Did you recruit him?
I love all the sprites.
Did you get to the point where you recruited Robo?
I recruited Robo.
Okay, yeah.
I remember recruiting Robo.
Okay,
I don't think I've gone much further. Like this. Yeah, this will tell you like where I'm at with the game. Where like I've never been able to get that far in it, unfortunately. Right.
You were a good.
No,
like,
I mean
you're good like quarter of the way through it. I think. Did you get to Ayla?
Okay. Did I get to who?
Ayla, the caveman girl.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I got there. But no, what I do like about it, I like how the battles aren't kind of, they're not like random encounters like 6 and 5 and 4 and whatever. You know, you encounter them normally and then the battle theme starts playing. I like that they've got the little dual attacks, right? Which they recently brought that back in 7 Rebirth, the synergy abilities, right? There's a lot of stuff I like about the game, but much like Tactics, it's one of those games that I've always admired and I've always been told is brilliant. But every time I play it, it just hasn't clicked with me.
I would recommend you play Live Alive, because that has everything that Chrono Trigger has in terms of time travel and a pretty lovable cast of different characters from different genres coming together. But also, every single chapter is like 45 minutes to an hour long, and you can get through a crap ton of that game pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's not linear. You go and select each one.
Yeah, it's
well,
like...
probably...
I mean, I guess there is time travel involved in Live Alive Later, but at the beginning of it, it's like you have 7 different time periods. Each one is a different story. Just do them in whatever order you want.
And only like half of them are traditional RPGs where you actually do like dungeon crawling.
Yeah, like there's one that's just like there is one boss fight at the end of this story. You have like an amount of time to place as many traps around the area as possible to get rid of a bunch of the minions in the boss fight. There's one that is basically Mega Man, the turn-based RPG.
There's Alien.
Yeah, there's one that's basically just Alien.
Yeah. There's the cowboy
should
one that I
probably
don't
talk
much
about
like.
the history of Chrono Trigger, like the development of it, because it's got a really interesting backstory.
Well, this was Square Enix before Square Enix was Square Enix.
Right.
So it's
Pretty much.
It's all the big five. Who are the big five again? I know Matsudo Kato became kind of the face of the Chrono franchise afterwards, but Akira Toriyama, rest in peace, doing the art. Takahashi Tokita was the lead designer on this, along with Chrono Trigger, Parasite Eve, Live Alive, also Final Fantasy IV. I'm a Final Fantasy IV guy. Yuji Horii, who is the Square Enix guy. I mean the NX, like the Dragon Quest guy. And Hironobu Sakaguchi, who was Mr. Final Fantasy. They all work together. There's also Yoshinori Kitase, who unfortunately never went on to do anything of note. What a shame. Historical footnote of a figure. Also worked on this. This is just kind of like a really fertile period for Square in particular. Because Enix is secretly not even a developer. If you look back at their history, all the original...
Enix is a publishing house.
Yeah, they were always a publishing house. They always had a lot of money. But I think even the Dragon Quest games were developed by...
Chunsoft, yeah.
Yeah, Chunsoft, thank you. I was going to say Spike, but I think it was pre-merger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Chunsoft.
I don't know when the merger happened, but it was definitely after the NES.
Yeah, and Terranigma, which is an NX game, that was made by Quintet.
Mm-hmm.
So NX didn't actually have developers. That's why Square Enix is so heavily Square.
Mm-hmm.
Where it feels like, why is everyone here a Square person? Nobody's an NX person, because nobody was actually an NX person.
Yeah, they didn't have a ton of developers at NX. They took outside things. I mean, technically speaking, Square Enix still don't really own Dragon Quest. That is owned by Yuji Horii and the Arma Project.
Does he really own it, personally?
Yeah, Arma Project holds the rights. What Square Enix has is basically right of first refusal. If they want to, if Yuji Horii wants to make a Dragon Quest game, it's Square Enix that have the publishing rights to it, but it's still.
So he's like a HAL Laboratories or Game Freak kind of deal?
Yeah, but also I'm pretty sure Arma Project is also just a rights holding thing, so someone has to develop it. Dragon Quest XI was in-house. Square did actually make that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Dragon Quest XII is also going to be in-house Square.
Presumably, yeah. That seems to have stalled, so who knows what the fuck's happening.
I think Dragon Quest X was also in-house Square Enix, which would have been the first one actually developed in-house, because...
Oh, that was under Naoki Yoshida, yeah.
Yeah. Because previously those were the not Blue Dragon people, the who did 8 and 9. It was the Jeanne d'Arc people, the Yokai Watch people.
Level 5.
Level 5, thank you. There you go. So, Chrono Trigger is widely considered a masterpiece because it did get released it was right at the tail end of the Super Nintendo. It's 1995. Would have come out around the same time in America as Final Fantasy, what we called 3 at the time. Did not release for your people, Some Color Mage, or Technobliterator, Final Fantasy 3. Actually, did Chrono Trigger come out in Europe? It's an interesting question. It did come out in North America. No, it did not. The first time that the EU or Australia got access to this was the Nintendo DS remake.
Well,
really?
Legally.
Yes. Officially, yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of games just did not come out to Europe. Europe always got screwed over when it came to RPGs. The first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII for Europe.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Actually, the first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy Adventure, the GBA, the first mana game that was also Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
okay, all right. I'm talking video games here. All right. Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy Adventure. Come on.
And there was also Mystic Quest.
Did that come out in Europe?
I believe so, yes.
You know what? Something about Mystic Quest just feels European to me. It has kind of like this... It has this, like, English quality to it. I can't really say what it is.
Which is fucking hilarious because in Japan the game's called Final Fantasy USA.
Yeah. But still, it has... There's something about it that feels like one of those British egg games to me. I don't know why. I don't know.
Egg game?
Yeah. What's the egg game? Where he goes on adventures. You not? Well, you're too young to know. Egg game British. I can never remember this guy's name. This is all the half of this podcast is just me not remembering things.
Yeah, I'm both too young and too not actually
Dizzy.
European to be able to answer this question.
Dizzy, the Dizzy franchise. Codemasters made them. This is an adventure of an egg guy. He goes around. It's a side scroller. You collect items and solve an extremely complicated puzzle. Also, there's fall damage. Like, super fucking low levels of fall damage. It's not a good video game. There's like a platformer adventure English quality that a lot of games had that is basically a dead end of development at this point, because pretty much everything ended up coming from Japan or North America. A lot of the European computer systems all died out in the 90s, so it's not much love for Dizzy unless you're Yahtzee, I guess. And even then, I think he admitted that those games are not good. So anyway, Chrono Trigger. You may have heard of this game. We were talking about it previously. This is widely considered one of the best RPGs on the Super Nintendo. I would actually argue, and I've thought about this long and hard, it is a better game than Final Fantasy VI. It is a prettier game. It is a stunningly beautiful game. Like, the trial sequence is doing more things with breaking from the 2D dimension than anything Final Fantasy VI does. It has a better soundtrack than Final Fantasy VI. And it is a shorter game than Final Fantasy VI. And shorter equals better.
I'm not sure that shorter makes it better.
Shorter makes it better,
okay.
Yes.
If we're gonna talk about things that the game did technically which were ahead of its time, right? Like, we have to remember that Final Fantasy VI did the fucking opera scene, right? Yeah. Final Fantasy VI did that giant boss battle with Kefka at the end. The dancing mad boss, right? Which is literally like you're listening to a fucking orchestra the whole time as you descend through the different steps of madness into what that boss is. And how they did that was actually, like, genius. So, yeah, I can't agree. I can't agree that it's a better game than Final Fantasy VI. Like, Final Fantasy VI is an absolute masterpiece.
Final Fantasy VI is the bigger budget blockbuster. It has bigger scale, bigger melodrama, bigger length, and at times, I'm pretty sure it had a higher budget. Chrono Trigger is clearly more cartoony in its aesthetic and virtually everything about it. It also is,
of course, Toriyama.
Toriyama, yes. It is also just overwhelming with personality in every way. Where there is not a single character in Chrono Trigger who I do not think is in some way iconic. Where Final Fantasy VI, you got Terra. She's an icon. You got Locke, Setzer. These are good characters. Anybody care about Cyan? Anyone care about Umaru?
What do you mean about no one cared about Cyan?
No one cares about Cyan. People don't love Cyan the way people love Frog. Frog is an icon.
Well, that might be true, right? But aside from the robot, I don't remember a single character from Chrono Trigger.
You said Frog.
And yeah, I do need to clarify you know, the again, I Final Fantasy VI, I fell in love with that game, and Chrono Trigger never really clicked with me. So if I'd liked Chrono Trigger enough that I could have finished it, I might come out of this with a different opinion. Right?
You haven't seen Magus yet.
I might be coming from it with a relatively less informed opinion.
Techno, considering your love of Tifa,
that,
considering your love of Tifa, you would greatly enjoy Ayla, I'd say.
What's her name?
Ayla.
How do you spell that?
Ayla.
Ayla. Ayla.
She looks like Evil Launch, but that won't mean anything to you because you've never seen Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh, this looks... Yeah, she looks cool.
She's the physical brawler, extremely sexually explicit character of the game.
Okay.
She bears a midriff.
Okay. Yeah, she looks cool.
She has a boy named Kino that she's going to marry. He's
I probably should
give
this game another chance.
You should definitely finish Chrono Trigger.
I'm definitely of the belief I should try this game out again. But I mean, to me, like, you know, Final Fantasy VI is so good. I just have a hard time believing that any game could be better than it. On that console, I should say.
Well, on the Super Nintendo. Well, let me think. Is Chrono Trigger the best game on the Super Nintendo? That's a top.
This is also around the time where
it's Link to the Past.
Not Square Enix, sorry.
Chrono Trigger is definitely up there, but Final Fantasy VI, to its credit, is also up there.
Yoshi's Island.
Is
Yoshi's
Super
Island
Mario
is a real
RPG up there?
Super Mario RPG is a very, very good game, but it is not as good as Final Fantasy VI or Live Alive. Though it is also a game with a lot of personality. It also has just fucking dog shit platforming. Holy crap!
Also, Super Mario RPG Switch version blows the SNES version out of the water. Honestly.
Oh, okay.
Star Fox is not actually good, so I'm not going to consider that. I didn't like Super Castlevania 4. Ogre Battle I don't like. I don't like Donkey Kong Country, to be honest, either.
The Donkey Kong Country trilogy is kind of weird, to be honest.
Oh, I have one argument. In favor of Final Fantasy VI and against Chrono Trigger, right?
Yes.
I have a quote here from Wikipedia. It says, Yoshinori Kitase stated that he used the time travel mechanics of Chrono Trigger as a starting point for that of Final Fantasy 13-2.
Yeah, and 13-2 completely fucks everything up. It completely gets it all wrong.
Yeah, so Final Fantasy VI didn't inspire 13-2. Chrono Trigger did. So, I don't know about you, but I think we have a winning game here.
Well, a Chrono Trigger sequel is, in some way, Final Fantasy Dimensions 2. Wait,
really?
Apparently, the ideas for Chrono Break ended up being in Final Fantasy Dimensions 2.
Yeah, and like, if we want to talk that, like, Chrono Trigger had an actual sequel, and while Chrono Cross is certainly questionable, it is basically the team that went on to become Monolith Soft, and so, like, we have a direct line here to the Xenoblade games, which is the point in Chrono Trigger's favor.
Yeah, I guess Chrono Cross becomes Xenogears? Is that how that works?
Yeah, like the team made Chrono Cross, then they made Xenogears, and then they left Square and created Monolith Soft.
Yeah, they are bonkers human beings. Yeah, it's interesting that Chrono Trigger like works with such simplicity. Like everything about it is like, all right, this is just a tight design. It's got like not an ounce of fat on it. The the cross-blade moves, like the combination attacks are such an interesting mechanic, but so like it's simple. Like it doesn't take much to understand how to do an X-blade. It's you're using Chrono and Frog's turn in a ATB system, one of the better ATB systems too. Very fast moving. And you get to go use
there's something to be said that Chrono Trigger does something that a lot of ATB games don't to get things into the action, which is that the ATB, no matter what you have it set to, like goes at something like triple quadruple speed until someone's first turn comes up. Like it is designed to just speed through the first few seconds of the fight just to make sure you're instantly inputting things.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing that like the last few ATB like pure ATB games, you know, like 10-2 and 13 and 13-2, they didn't do that. You've actually got to wait a while to do something, and in 13-2 that's a bit excusable because you can preemptively input commands, but 10-2 starting battles in 10-2 is often actually kind of annoying because it's very slow to start.
Anyway, I had like a point. Oh yeah. So I was saying like Chrono Trigger is such a tight design, and yet they went on to make Chrono Cross, which is a game that makes like no sense at all in terms of how it's produced. The whole system of setting up colors for the field and everything about that battle system, I don't like a single thing about it. It's like it's going in 4 different directions. These are all ideas that maybe could have made a good system on their own, but they're all together and they're all like fighting against each other. And then you have Xenogears, which is, oh god, Xenogears. That game is but like even Chrono Trigger in terms of its story is such this light, hopeful, almost, you know, it's the Dragon Quest element to it, where all the monsters are likable, like characters in of themselves. There's so much personality to all the little monsters, and everything about it is almost happy, but also has a level of Katase and Matsuno darkness to it. Kato darkness. And then Chrono Cross is just like opaque despair, confusion, and has the last hour of that game comes up with 3 different plots that could have all been different games in of themselves.
If that's true, why does Chrono Cross have such a good Metacritic score from what I'm reading?
Well, I didn't say Chrono Cross was a bad game. I'm just saying that, like, Chrono Trigger is, for what it's trying to pull off, is tightly contained and near perfect. And Chrono Cross is perhaps more ambitious and is a complete goddamn mess. Like, I think even the big fans of that game will admit that it is a mess. And Xenogears fans will be the first to tell you that the game is a disaster and unfinished.
That is honestly kind of the way those developers go. You know, like, I do love the Xenoblade games, but I will be the first to describe them as insane games for insane people.
They're so long. I couldn't get through Xenoblade 1, and there's like 3 more of them now, aren't there?
I struggled on Xenoblade Chronicles, whichever one I played. Like, I enjoyed it a little bit, but I struggled to like keep getting through it, if that makes sense. There's a lot of RPGs that, you know, RPGs are just fucking long games. So there's a lot, you have to be like really motivated to finish one.
Well, that's the thing. Chrono Trigger is only like 20-25 hours long.
Yeah, like Chrono Trigger is very quickly crafted. If you somehow manage to break the leveling curve or something, the game will even give you the opportunity, hey, do you want to just skip the rest of the game and go straight to the final boss fight? You'll probably lose, but you can still do that.
Yeah.
And like, there's not really a lot of side stuff until the very end. Like at the end, like towards the end, you know, you raid the ancient temple in Antiquity. You you see their attempt to awaken Lavos at that time fail. Chrono dies, and then it's like, well, you're basically at the end. You can go to the final boss anytime you want now, but every single character has a side quest arc associated with them that you should probably try to grow a bit stronger. Maybe get Chrono back into your party.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Chrono dies. Whatever. I forgot about that. Spoilers. Yeah. But luckily, death is very malleable if you have somebody that can make a perfect sprite replacement.
Yeah.
Robo has a very fun side quest where you have to build a farm.
Yeah.
You have to clear a forest so that a farm can exist. So you leave Robo behind in the Middle Ages, and then you cut to a few hundred years later, and he's built the farm for you because he's just had all this time.
Yeah,
it's time travel actually works. Unlike Final Fantasy 13
for the entire rest of the game, even once you've finished the side quest, get Robo back. If you go back to the year 600, you can see him there just building the farm.
Yeah, he's out in
he's just there on the overworld, continuing to clear things out.
Yeah, that one dungeon you were talking about, if you do it the right way, you can beat it multiple times. Because if you beat it in current day, it's still there in antiquity. It's still there in the Middle Ages.
Right. Yeah. The true final dungeon, the bit after they create the temple. Well, the bit after the original temple gets destroyed, and then the Black Omen rises into the world, and it's floating there every other time period. They won't let you go in if you go into the far future, but every other time it's still there. So you can raid it in the year 1000, destroy it, do the first part of the final boss fight. Because after the first part of the final boss fight, you're allowed to just leave, go do whatever you want. So you can go back to year 600, raid the final dungeon again.
Yep.
And
just do it for level grinding.
Go back, time travel back to, 12,000 BC, raid it a third time.
It's great that there's an NPC in current day that's looking at it. I forget what it's called. It's called the Black Eye or the Black Omen. The Black Omen, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And I can remember that, but I can't remember Dizzy. Anyway, there's a guy who's looking at it. He's like, oh yeah, there's the Black Omen floating there. It's this ominous doom fortress. But to his perspective, the Black Omen's been there for centuries. Every person in his life has been watching the Black Omen. It's all for time immemorial. The Black Omen's there. He's like, oh yeah, it's comforting. It's always there, the Black Omen.
Yeah. And also in the years 600, 1000, there's a bunch of chests scattered around that were sealed by ancient technology. So towards the end of the game, once you've gone back to that era and now know how to open it, well, you can go back to the chests and open them. But if you go back to the year 600, look at it, examine those chests, then don't open them. Go to the year 1000, examine them again. You create a stronger version of whatever was in that chest, open it, and then you can go back to year 600, open it yet again to get both versions of the item.
See, this is nothing. Final Fantasy 13-2 never does anything like this. It's a game about time travel, but just by insisting that's time travel, it just says time paradox over and over again.
Yeah. 13-2 is a game where a bunch of weird shit happens and they say it's because of time travel.
It's just an excuse for why anything happens. It's oh yeah, time paradox happened. Why is there a tomato eating the crystal tower? Oh, time paradox. I don't know.
Time paradox. Why has the city of Urban disappeared into an empty space rift? Time paradox. Why did it happen again? Time paradox.
Where's snow? Time paradox.
Yeah.
Techno, you were saying?
Well, there's also there's that plot point in 13-2 where Caius is if you change the future, you change the past. And I'm how does that make sense?
Yeah, Chrono Trigger works on the linear logic of time progressing forward.
Yeah,
and 13-2 just does not.
Get what they're trying to say, that 13-2's the way 13-2's time travel works is that it tries to make everything make sense, and so adjust things that happened outside of the period that you directly changed to try and make everything internally consistent. Except a ton of stuff in 13.2 happens that isn't internally consistent in the first place, so who the fuck cares?
Yeah, there's a character, Alyssa, who like never existed in the first place due to time travel. But she's still there.
Yeah. And it's like the implication is that she died in the purge. She died at the start of 13.
Oh.
But something happened that caused her to remain alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then by you doing that, it fixed that. And so she just disappears from the story completely after that. But also, it doesn't really make sense because, like, none of this time travel stuff is supposed to affect anything that goes back that far anyway. I don't think. What the hell?
Yeah, it 13.2 like limits the time period so heavily that it has to be after the fall of Cocoon in 13.1 up to the end of the world. Like, you can't go back in time to old Pulse. Yeah. You can't see Vanille and Fang when they were normal. Well, I say normal, quote unquote, when they were in their first life, is the way I should put it. Like, it completely does nothing with the time travel concept in terms of exploring this world and history.
You start the game in 3AF, and that is the furthest back you can time travel.
3 as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the time means.
No. And so, like, that kind of becomes a bit less interesting because, like, there's also stuff that happens in the backstory of 13 that is stuff that you could go back to, but you can't because the paradoxes didn't exist until the ending of 13 where Etro manages to fuck up everything, saving everyone. And so no, nothing's allowed to change before that point, I guess. But they did.
Okay, don't worry about it.
13.2's writing makes no fucking sense.
13.2's writing is don't worry about it. Time paradox. That's it. Relax, bro. Time paradox. I guess one thing we should talk about is Chrono Trigger. It did have one official sequel, which is Chrono Cross, but it's also had dozens and dozens of games attempting to be it, including
they've pretty much all been bad.
Yes, well, I mean, hit or miss, let's say. So Square Enix made their own Chrono Trigger game, which was by the Tokyo RPG Factory, which I don't believe still exists.
Oh yeah, they're
what was that game called?
I'm pretty sure they're dead, and all three of I think they made 3 games. We're all fucking.
I think they made 4. No, they made 3. I Am Setsuna is the one that was explicitly, we're going to remake the Chrono Trigger battle system. And that was like set in like a frozen world. It was not particularly... I played a demo of that game. It's not particularly great. And I don't think anyone much mourns it.
They were trying to ape points of Final Fantasy X's story, but poorly. Mm-hmm. Also, the battle system just kind of sucked. Like, they were trying to do Chrono Trigger and also have like some quick time event sort of thing in it, and it wasn't good.
Yeah. More recently, the indie RPG scene has had games like Chained Echoes and Sea of Stars, which are very, very visually similar to Chrono Trigger, and also have kind of interesting team-based mechanics. I believe Chained Echoes is the one that has a character named Glenn, which is based explicitly on on Frog's real name. Also, it has the festival scene from Chrono Trigger, one of the more famous scenes at the very beginning of that. It just does that same thing. Yeah. There's also Level 5 had a game. What was it called? Level 5 had one that was trying to be a time travel RPG. I remember being extremely difficult. I never finished it. I'm pretty sure it was Level 5, right? Was it not? Shit.
Well, I wouldn't know because I don't know the game you're talking about in the first place.
It was on the DS. DS time travel RPG. It got remade recently. Radiant Historia. That's it. Jesus Christ. That's not a very memorable name, Radiant Historia. That is an Atlas. That's Atlas and Headlock. That's who made that. That game is
Okay,
extremely...
Radiant Historia is a pretty good one, yeah.
Radiant Historia is pretty okay. I found it extremely difficult. Like, I just got to a point where I just could not do anything further in that game.
Well, yeah, Atlas.
Yes, Atlas. This was their very cruel territory.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, dual techs are basically in Metaphor ReFantazio. It just doesn't have triple techs.
Yeah. It should have those. Like eventually you get attacks that have to use the entire party.
In Metaphor ReFantazio?
Yeah, like there are 3 and 4 character synthesis attacks.
I've never run into any of these. I'm literally like right before the final boss right now. I've only had synthesis attacks where 2 characters join together.
Like if you're right at the end, you should have like the synthesis attack that requires like the main character to be in Prince and the other 3 party members to all be in their royal archetype.
Okay, that I have unlocked most royal archetypes. I don't think I've unlocked all of them yet. I think only 3 of my 4 characters are royal archetypes. The game is really friggin' long. Like I thought I'd be done like 10 hours ago. And it's like, nah, here's a shit ton more stuff. If I only had a time machine to time travel right to the final boss when my party was maxed out. Oh well. So I think we may have burned out on our Chrono Trigger conversation.
Probably.
Yeah, I need to play it again.
You need to finish
I need to try and finish it this time.
I would call it...
It's not a very long game tech, no.
It's not very difficult either.
I guess it's long if you do everything, because it's got like a dozen endings. Because New Game Plus just gives you the opportunity to, hey, the game just started. I'm going to go straight to the final boss right now.
Which you can do. You can try to fight the final boss immediately, and you'll find that because the game's not all that difficult, you'll be able to get through half the first phase.
And on New Game Plus, you can probably do it, because they make the point where you can fight the final boss even earlier. It's like right at the start of the game before you even have to put Marley into your party, and if you do that, that's how you get to the developer's room.
Yes.
Huh.
This is the first developer room, I believe.
That's fascinating.
No, 4 had one.
So you're right. Right, 4 did have one.
That's fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah, and most of the endings are just kind of nonsensical jokes. Although there are a few that do actually explore the thing of you solve the problem before you actually solved all the problems. Like, oh, you didn't solve the war 65 million years ago between the humans and the lizard people. You might have just created because of that. You never stopped the lizard people from wiping out humanity.
And you created the lizard timeline that'll show up in one info dump in Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
Which seems like you'd think, oh, that's got to be a major plot point of this game. No, it's just something that shows up at the last minute in that game.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Yeah. Like, oh, there's a robot that's been like rewriting history. Is that the plot of this whole game? No, it's something we just came up with now.
Yeah.
Mother Brain, not the Samus one. Different Mother Brain.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're all decided that Chrono Trigger is a better game than Final Fantasy VI. I'm glad we all agree on this. Also, Corridors of Time is unbelievably a great track. I've listened to that for literally hours.
That's the
Antiquity
World
song in
Map
Antiquity,
one. Right? Yeah. That song's fantastic.
I mean, there are so many just ridiculously good tracks, like Frog's theme, Robo's theme, which many people have pointed out is the
soundtrack. I think Final Fantasy VI has some fantastic music, but Chrono Trigger has like a 100% hit rate.
I don't know if every track is great, but I've definitely loved Chrono Trigger enough that I've played entire ROM hack sequels to this game, which I have not done for any other game. There's a game called Crimson Echoes that was a ROM hack that tried to tie Chrono Trigger and Cross together more clearly and ends on a sequel hook for Chrono Break, which will never happen, unfortunately. Tragic.
Rip. You'll live on as Final Fantasy Dimensions 2, apparently.
I guess so. Which is already offline, I think, right?
And it got turned into an offline version, so I don't know whether or not you can still get it. You probably can.
The better question is, do I want to, though? Is there a Frog Knight in it?
Is it fair to say that it is the best Square game about time travel?
Well, yes, but that is
which isn't
a bit of a thin field because there's Chrono Trigger, there's
Live Alive
13-2, there's kind of Live Alive, so that is close competition.
There's 7 Rebirth, I guess.
Does that really?
I don't believe there's time travel going on in there.
There's a cycle of nonsense happening. There's Final Fantasy. Actually, all Final Fantasy games at some point have a cycle of gods repeating history over and over again, don't they?
I guess if you want to expand into bits of Square that aren't Japanese, and also things that we have had to talk about earlier this episode, does Life is Strange.
Oh yeah, Life is Strange. That's a solid time travel game.
It does time travel better than Final Fantasy VIII or Final Fantasy 13 too.
I guess Final Fantasy VIII does have time travel in it, technically.
Yeah,
but it has time compression, which means nothing. What does that mean? What do I do with that? How do I make Pop-Tarts in a world with time compression? I don't know.
All we know is that it's the time compression is so dangerous that their plan to stop time compression was to let her do time compression.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, if all of time is as a single point, it means that you can go to whenever time you want. So now in the present, you can go into the future where she is and stab her.
And then undo time compression.
Yeah.
Except you never travel through time because you destroyed the person that compressed time. So how did all this time happen? This is the kind of thing that makes your face implode into a black hole. Mm-hmm. As one does in Final Fantasy VIII.
Which is also a thing that happens in Final Fantasy VIII.
In Final Fantasy VIII,
and then some time travel does happen so that because Ultimation needs to die and give her power to another witch, which could only be done with time travel. And then something happens in the Field of Flowers, which something happens. And then Final Fantasy XIV comes along and makes that scene a lot gayer.
Edea and Ultimecia?
No, the Field of Flowers.
Squall and Renoa?
Yeah.
Oh, Final Fantasy 1 has a stable time loop, too.
Right.
Yeah. This is what... I believe that's what they're all hearkening to, is how Final Fantasy 1 is just endlessly repeating nonsense. Except then you just kill the guy, and I guess everyone lives happily ever after. Really, the solution to time travel is violence. As long as you have violence, you can solve anything.
Yeah.
If only Lavos was sufficiently violent, it could have ended the world, but we were more violent than Lavos. We had more violence points.
Yeah.
And this is also how Metaphor...
They used the power of time travel to train up and become more violent so that they could have violent Lavos.
And this is how Metaphor Refantasio also solves the struggle of electoral politics and creeping fascism, is that you need to be more violent and stronger than the fascism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
also,
it works.
I guess, yeah. Louis also has
that's what World War II was.
Yeah, Louis only has one friend. That like weird slutty witch guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Scottish accent.
Mm-hmm.
Every other friend of his abandons him. It's almost kind of sad. You think about it. You know, if Louis had been able to keep Basilio on side, there's no way that you'd ever be able to win that game.
Yeah, Basilio is kind of fucking busted.
Yes, he's so strong. I never would have been able to get through any of the super bosses without him. He has an ability I unlocked where you can ignore all resistances and hit for holy damage. And that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because like there's an attack. In fact, I think this is the 4-person synthesis attack. There's like guarantees 9,999 damage. Basilio can outdo that quite easily.
I haven't been able to do that. I think the most I've ever been able to do is 4,000 damage in that game. Anyway, we're now talking about a different game. So I think the Final Fantasy podcast, that was not really all that much about Final Fantasy to begin with. Considering Chrono Trigger is not a Final Fantasy game. No chocobos, if you recall. That was the definition. Oh, Bravely Default. That game's got interesting time travel happening in it.
It's... Yeah, I mean, it's something that looks like time travel. It technically isn't, but... Yeah. Like, I mean, what is the difference between time travel and hopping to parallel worlds that just conveniently happen to be on a time scale that is slightly behind where you were in the world you left?
Yeah. It's like that Marvel thing, I guess. I think the Marvel universe operates on similar logics.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we should probably just wrap up this podcast. So we're all decided Chrono Trigger is better than Final Fantasy VI. Actually, Final Fantasy is a garbage franchise, and Chrono Trigger is always better. We've wasted our lives. So I am BlueHighwind. I host this show, and Somecolor Mage also hosts this show, and Technobliterator hosts this show. We are the Final Fantasy Wiki podcast, and you are the person that listens, I guess, sorta. One thinks. I think my voice is starting to go too. We should definitely wrap up. So the music is La Montaña de los Sabanos Caballeros by Expert Novice off the OC Ruin Balance and Ruin soundtrack. It sounds like Mount Cults from Final Fantasy VI because that's what it is. And we're monthly, so we'll be back at the end of April 2025. We'll have to figure out something to talk about because there ain't Final Fantasy games coming out, so gotta be something. Some Color Mage, what are we talking about next month? Let me know.
Hell if I know.
Technobliterator, what are we talking about?
Next month? Let's talk about Final Fantasy IX.
Just talk about Final Fantasy IX? Just for the hell of it?
Oh, yeah. Which I'm convinced the remake is going to happen.
I don't believe the remake's going to happen, so we'll just talk about Final Fantasy IX.
We'll talk about it, but it better fucking happen.
Yeah, I will make an argument that Chrono Cross is a better looking game than Final Fantasy IX is. Next month.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, I am done, and that's the end of the show. I'm going to go to bed. Have a good night.